They stood frozen, hearts pounding, as the officer's hands gripped the teen's neck, slamming his face into the police car's hood with a sickening crunch. Blood streaked down the metal, pooling on the asphalt, a stark red stain under the flickering streetlights. The crowd's gasps turned to screams, but no one dared move closer. This wasn't just another night in the city. It was a moment that would sear itself into their memories, a brutal collision of power and pain that demanded the world's attention. Wherever you're watching from, New York, London, Chicago, or beyond, share this story. Speak out, demand justice. What happened on that street could happen anywhere, and silence only lets it spread. He was just 17, a lanky black teenager named Marcus Jackson, walking home from his part-time job at the corner store in Southside Chicago. It was a humid July evening in 2025, the kind where the air clung to your skin and the streets buzzed with life. Marcus had his earbuds in, nodding to a beat, his backpack slung over one shoulder. He'd been saving up for a new pair of sneakers, dreaming of the day he'd walk into school with something fresh. His mom, Tanya, always told him to keep his head down, to avoid trouble. "You're a good kid, Marcus," she'd say, "but good don't always keep you safe." They, the police, were already on edge that night. A string of petty thefts had the precinct buzzing, and Officer Daniel Harris, a 15-year veteran with a reputation for quick fists, was patrolling with his partner, Officer Sarah Klein. Harris had a file thick with complaints, excessive force, racial profiling, but none had ever stuck. He was untouchable, or so he thought. Klein, newer to the force, followed his lead, her silence a kind of complicity. The radio crackled with reports of a suspect young, black male, wearing a hoodie. Marcus fit the description, though he'd done nothing but walk. Tanya, was at home stirring a pot of collards when her phone buzzed. It was Marcus's friend Jamal, his voice shaking. "Miss Tanya, you gotta come quick. They got Marcus down on 47th. It's bad." Her spoon clattered to the floor. She grabbed her keys, heart racing, not knowing if her son was alive or dead. They surrounded Marcus before he even noticed them. Harris's voice boomed, "Stop right there." Marcus pulled out an earbud, confused, his hands instinctively rising. "What'd I do?" he asked, voice steady but laced with fear. Harris didn't answer. He grabbed Marcus's arm, twisting it behind his back. Klein stood back, her hand on her holster, eyes darting between her partner and the growing crowd. "You're coming with us?" Harris growled, shoving Marcus toward the patrol car. He stumbled, his backpack sliding off. "I didn't do nothing," Marcus shouted, his voice cracking. The crowd, now a dozen strong, pulled out phones recording. "Let him go!" someone yelled. Harris's face reddened. "Back off!" he barked, slamming Marcus's chest against the car. The teen's cheek hit the hood, and a gasp rippled through the onlookers. "Stop resisting?" Harris yelled, though Marcus's body was limp, compliant. A woman in the crowd named Keisha screamed, "He's just a kid!" Her voice cut through the tension, but Harris ignored her. He grabbed Marcus's head, fingers digging into his scalp, and smashed his face into the car again. Blood sprayed, a sickening red arc. Marcus groaned, his knees buckling. "You gonna learn today?" Harris spat, his voice low, venomous. Klein shifted, her face pale, but she said nothing. The crowd's shouts grew louder, angrier. "Get off him! You're killing him?" They watched, horrified, as blood dripped from Marcus's nose, his mouth, staining his shirt, the car, the street. A man named Tyrone stepped forward, fists clenched. "You ain't gotta do him like that!" Harris turned, hand on his gun. "Step back or you're next." The threat silenced Tyrone, but the crowd's energy shifted. Fear mixed with fury. Phones kept rolling, capturing every second of the brutality. Tanya, arrived just as the second blow landed. She pushed through the crowd, her voice a raw scream. "That's my son, Marcus!" Her eyes locked on Harris, who didn't even glance her way. Marcus's head was pinned to the car, his eyes half open, blood streaming down his face. Tanya lunged forward, but a bystander held her back. "Don't, Miss Tanya. They'll arrest you too." Her sobs choked her, but she kept shouting, "Let him go! He's my baby!" Harris, seemed to feed off the chaos. His grip tightened on Marcus's neck, his voice rising. "You think you can run these streets? Huh! You think you're tough?" Marcus mumbled something, incoherent through the pain. Harris laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "What's that, boy? Speak up." He slammed Marcus's face again harder. The crowd erupted, some stepping closer, others yelling for someone to call 911. Klein finally spoke, her voice shaky. "Dan, ease up. He's not fighting." Harris shot her a look. "Stay out of this, rookie." The crowd, were no longer just spectators. Keisha, the woman who'd first spoken, was on her phone, live streaming to X. "This is Chicago PD beating a kid for nothing. Look at this." Her post was already spreading, racking up views. Others joined in, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of outrage. "His name's Marcus Jackson? He's 17. This ain't right." The tension was a live wire, ready to spark. Tanya, broke free from the bystander's grip, rushing toward her son. "Marcus, baby, I'm here." Harris spun, shoving her back. "Mom, stay back or you're under arrest?" Tanya's eyes burned with tears and rage. "You're hurting my child," she screamed. "He didn't do nothing." "Marcus, barely conscious," whispered Mama. The sound broke her. She fell to her knees, sobbing as the crowd closed in, their shouts drowning out Harris's orders. Marcus was fading. His vision blurred, the pain overwhelming. Blood coated his lips, his teeth. He tried to speak, to tell them he was innocent, but his words slurred. Harris yanked him upright, cuffs clicking around his wrists. "You're going downtown," he said, dragging Marcus toward the car's back door. Klein hesitated, then opened it, her face unreadable. The crowd surged, some throwing insults, others pleading. "He needs a hospital," Tyrone shouted. Harris ignored them, shoving Marcus into the back seat. The police backup, arrived minutes later. 3 more cars, lights flashing. Officers stepped out, hands on their weapons, forming a barrier between the crowd and Harris. The tension spiked. Someone threw a water bottle, and it bounced off a cruiser. An officer shouted, "Disperse or you're all getting locked up." Keisha kept streaming, her voice steady. "They're trying to cover this up. Look at this boy's blood on the ground. This is what they do to us." Tanya, refused to leave. She stood by the car, banging on the window where Marcus sat, slumped, barely moving. "I'm not leaving my son," she yelled. An officer grabbed her arm, pulling her back. The crowd pushed forward, shouting, "Let her go." The scene was a powder keg, every voice adding fuel. On X, Keisha's video hit 10,000 views, then 50,000. Hashtags spread "Fend Justice for Marcus," "Fend Chicago PD," from Black Lives Matter. The world was watching now. Marcus was rushed to the hospital after the officers realized the cameras weren't stopping. His face was swollen, unrecognizable, his nose broken, 3 teeth missing. Tanya sat by his bedside, holding his hand, her tears falling silently. The doctor said he'd recover, but the scars, physical and otherwise, would last a lifetime. Harris was suspended, pending an investigation, but the precinct's history suggested he'd walk free. Klein, shaken, filed a report against her partner, a rare break in the blue wall of silence. It wasn't enough, but it was something. The community, didn't let it die. Protests erupted the next day, hundreds marching down 47th Street, chanting Marcus's name. Keisha's video hit 1 million views, shared by activists, celebrities, and politicians. The mayor promised a full review, but the crowd wasn't buying it. They demanded Harris's badge, an end to the system that let this happen. Tanya spoke at a rally, her voice raw but strong. "My son could have died. How many more kids gotta bleed before y'all listen?" Keisha kept posting, turning her grief into action. Her X account became a hub for updates on Marcus's recovery, the investigation, and the protests. She organized a fundraiser for his medical bills, raising $100,000 in a week. The story spread beyond Chicago, sparking debates on police reform, systemic racism, and accountability. News outlets picked it up, but the rawest truth lived in those shaky phone videos, in the blood on the street. Marcus, woke up 3 days later, his voice weak but clear. "I just wanted to go home," he told his mom. Tanya hugged him, promising he'd never face this alone again. The community vowed the same. Harris's trial was set for the fall, but the real fight was in the streets, in the voices refusing to be silenced. Final call to action from wherever you are. Atlanta, Manchester, Lagos, or Sydney. Don't let this story fade. Share Marcus's truth. Demand accountability. Join the protests online or in person. This isn't just Chicago's fight, it's everyone's. The blood on that street is a call to action. Will you answer?